All right, what's good, man? You know what I'm saying? Today is going to be a sort of more educational video, you know what I mean? Um, but yeah, tonight I really just wanted to come to you guys and kind of explain to you all of the books that personally have changed my life. You know what I mean? Um, so with that being said, I have a list, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if everyone does this that reads books, but like I'm kind of like weird and like autistic in a way. Like I do that. You know what I mean? I kind of just write down lists for everything. Like I have a list of all of the books that I want to read in total. I have a list for all of the restaurants I want to try in my city because there are a lot of like restaurants out here that are pretty popular. They kind of go viral on TikTok in my area. So yeah, I have like lists for a bunch of different stuff in my notes. And one of the lists for movies I want to read, lists for shows I want to watch. I mean, movies I want to read, movies I want to watch, shows I want to watch. But yeah, it's really just something I do, right? So, boom, I got on to reading for like a little short story about me. Probably, well, I've been reading all my life, honestly. I started really getting into reading heavily. I want to say like second grade, right? My teacher, I remember vividly, Miss Gonzalez, right? Shout out Miss Gonzalez. My second grade teacher, I kind of always was the type of person who finished my work early, right? Because school kind of comes like quick to me, right? Like learning, and I learned pretty quickly. So I always used to like finish my worksheets pretty early. And then I'd just be sitting around, like I'd have a little bit of extra time afterwards, right? While everyone else was, finishing up on their worksheets still. So like I remember in second grade one time, I finished my worksheet real early and my teacher, she came to me and she was like, you should start getting into reading books more. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have a lot of extra time. Like you always finish your worksheets early, blah, 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 blah. So she kind of pushed me in that direction. And I don't know. I didn't really consider it before. I kind of thought books were going to be boring. I'm like a little second grade boy, bro. Like, I thought books would be boring to read. But, yeah, she kind of pushed me on to it. She showed me the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. Obviously, that's not no crazy books to read. I got into better, bigger books later down the line. But those books really sparked my interest and, kind of created and curated my love for reading early on. She showed me the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. I read that. And then after that, like I just became a collector of those. I started collecting literally every single Diary of a Wimpy Kid book that came out. Shout out to Jeff Kinney. He was one of my favorite authors as a kid. Like he was just, I loved reading those books. And then I got on to Big Nate later on. Eventually that turned into me reading Magic Treehouse. Shout out to the Magic Treehouse books. All different type of stuff, Goosebumps books, all different type of stuff like that when I was super, super young. And then around like fourth or fifth grade, right? I started getting into more stuff like Harry Potter books, you know what I mean? And then in fifth grade, it happened to me again, right? I was in class, you know what I mean? We were doing our work. I got done with my work very, very early. And it's crazy how this happened to me twice now that I'm actually sitting back and thinking about it. But like, yeah, I got done with my work pretty early. My fifth grade teacher walks up to me and she's like, yeah, like, she didn't say you should start reading because I'm pretty sure she already knew I was a pretty bright kid. Like, I'm pretty sure she knows I read already. But she walked up to me. She was like, I have a book for you to try. And she sits down this big ass, fat, thick ass book on my desk, right? And it's The Hunger Games. It's the original Hunger Games novel. You know what I mean? And that's still one of my favorite books and one of my favorite movies to watch as well to this day. But she showed me the original Hunger Games. That was before any of the movies came out, by the way. And I read that, fell deeply in love with it. Been reading ever since. Around seventh grade, I remember I got in trouble at school for just doing some dumb shit, whatever. I don't even remember what it was. And parents, they called home or sent a note home, whatever the fuck they did, right? Got in trouble when I got to the crib. And this was one of the more unconventional punishments my parents did for me. They sat me down And they gave me, where's the book at? They sat me down, and obviously this isn't the same copy because that was back in 7th grade, but my parents sat me down and they gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, man. And I was in 7th grade, you know what I mean? And they said, yeah, this is your punishment. You read this entire book front to back, cover to cover, and you write an essay on it. So I had to do that. I forgot how long they gave me. I think they took my phone away and they gave me like 3 days to do that, right? Read this entire book, cover to cover, write a whole essay explaining what I learned on it, right? And I did that. And that book I'm real grateful for that lesson. That book kind of changed my entire, perspective on reading and outlook on life in a way. You know what I'm saying? I kind of attribute that one punishment as to why I feel like I'm more like entrepreneurial minded now, because reading early on, obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of the first foundational books that a lot of people read when they're getting into like finance and you know what I'm saying, books like that. But so it's not crazy revolutionary if you already know the information, which I do now. But at that point in 7th grade, I was super young. So these were like really unique concepts to me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I kind of attribute that to why I have more of an entrepreneurial mindset today and why I always wanted to start a business, become a content creator, do something in the entrepreneurial space and work for myself rather than working a job, right? I kind of credit reading that book as a punishment and having to write an essay in 7th grade back then on to that. But yeah, that's a little bit about my story. Then I fast forward to like after that, I just loved reading. Like I would always read books on and off. Me and my mom, we'd go to the library together. We'd just read random books. I used to read anime books. I used to read a whole bunch of different self-help books. College came around, later high school. I started reading more self-help strictly. College came around and it was strictly self-help. Like, so to this day now, self-help is really the only books that I read. I don't really find entertainment in other genres. That's just not as fun to me to read because I like improving my life. I like building, growing as a man, trying to improve every facet of my life. So boom, that's a little short, not so short introduction on how I got into reading and, my story with that. If you've seen my other videos, I said I wanted to start a personal library. And I will be doing that. You know what I'm saying? Very soon. I love collecting books. I love reading them, finishing them. It's just one of my hobbies and favorite things to do personally. So yeah, with that being said, man, I want to go ahead and get into all of the books that changed my life personally. And just as a preface, this list will be more so like self-help. You know what I'm saying? It won't be as entertainment focused. It won't be as like sci-fi books and like biography, autobiography. You know what I'm saying? It won't be that type of stuff. Fiction, nonfiction. It won't really be that type of stuff, right? It'll be more all of the self-help genre or finance genre. So with that being said, I'm going to go in order for, because some of these books I reread, like I reread Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And yeah, I'm going to just go in order from when I restarted my self-help reading journey. And that was around late high school, early college, right? So boom. When I first started, I started with Think and Grow Rich. And I don't have a copy of that, right? I have a copy of all of these books in here except for that. But I don't feel like getting up to go grab all of them, bro. But yeah, so the first one I read was Think and Grow Rich, man. Now, I think this was around junior year of high school, senior year of high school when I read this. And I never owned a copy. I remember back then I started reading like the beginning of it in like the library. And like I would go to like the bookstore and everything, Barnes and Noble. I would read like little pages here and there, but I never really fully dove into reading it, right? And I never bought an actual copy. So fast forward end of high school around like senior year or whatever, I actually tried to read the book. And you know what I'm saying? It was very insightful. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, though, I didn't have a copy, so I was playing the audio book mostly for this one. I was listening to it while I was in the shower, listening to it while I was driving, listening to it while I was at work, you know what I mean? Just out of school, you know what I'm saying? Heading to practice. I was listening to Think and Grow Rich. And this book was kind of transformational to me just because it kind of gives you that foundational mindset. It's one of those foundational books, right? Just like Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like one of those books where it kind of really introduces the idea of, you know, getting rich and the mindset that it takes to get there, right? And you know what I'm saying? I feel like this is very foundational because a lot of people don't have the correct mindset that it takes to become rich. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to imagine yourself, you know what I'm saying, in these certain situations. You have to be able to have that desire and be able to go and achieve, you know what I'm saying, everything that you want to achieve after, you know what I'm saying, setting the desire for yourself to become rich. So, you know what I'm saying? This book, it really talks a lot about, and forgive me if I'm misquoting it perfectly, but I read this book a while ago. So, yeah, from what I took away from it, it kind of just gives you the mindset. It gives you the, how do I say this? It gives you the mindset to just, you know what I'm saying, be rich. I don't know. Like, it's really hard to kind of explain that book. But yeah, it's more so about desire and how wanting and knowing you can get there helps you get there, right? But yeah, I read that book a while back. Second on the list after Think and Grow Rich, I actually had a copy of this, as you guys saw, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I reread that, right? Because I had read it a while back in 7th grade. So I wanted to reread it again. And we all kind of know, you know what I'm saying, how Rich Dad Poor Dad goes. It's, you know, he has a rich dad, he has a poor dad. It's more so about, you know what I'm saying, perspective, right? And the differences between the two and what he learned, right? So I definitely feel like Rich Dad Poor Dad is a very foundational text that a lot of people should read, especially if you're getting just now into your finance journey and you're trying to learn the basics, right? So boom, after Rich Dad Poor Dad, I read Grit. Now let me look up the exact author. I have it in there, but the cover is torn off. So hold on, who is Grit by? Grit is by Angela Duckworth. Okay, shout out Angela Duckworth. So boom, this book really taught me perseverance, man. Now, I kind of feel like at this point, because it was one of the first books I read as well, I wanted to do a reread on it, honestly. Because this book, it helps you a lot with just pushing through despite the obstacles, despite your circumstances. If you set out to do a task, you need to complete it. There's a lot of things that'll pull your attention away. There's a lot of things that will make you discouraged, make you want to stop, you know what I'm saying, with whatever you set your goals out to do. And yeah, once you receive these obstacles, you need to just know that the only path is forward. You know what I'm saying? You can't give up. You came this far. You need to keep going. You need to push through. You need to have grit. It kind of gives you the true definition of what grit is, right? All right, so boom. There's that book. Love that book. Shout out to Angela Duckworth. After that, I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. You know what I'm saying? By Dale Carnegie. Shout out Dale Carnegie. This was one of the really, really foundational books for me personally. I've been saying foundational text in like terms of like, you know, books that everyone knows about that they need to read, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich. You know what I mean? All that type of stuff. But in terms of my top 3, my top 5 books, How to Win Friends and Influence People is absolutely up there. Why? Because this is a book all about people skills. You know what I mean? It teaches you like just little practical things that you can just implement immediately, right? Like how to make people like you more, how to make people take a liking to you more. Like, okay, you smile, and it's like really simple things that you would think that you know until you go out and you realize you're not implementing them, right? Just like smiling more when you see somebody, a handshake, eye contact, you know what I'm saying? Taking a genuine interest to other people, right? If someone is telling you something about themselves, they can kind of tell and see it in your face if you don't really care that much. You know what I'm saying? It's like genuinely take a real interest in what they're saying. Ask questions, dive deeper. Like if you're genuinely interested, people can feel that. It's like an energy thing. It oozes off of you, right? And people tend to take a liking more because most people in this day and age, and even back then, because it's a sort of older book, just people in general, they think more about themselves. People are very self-centered and focused on what they have going on in themselves. So it's really refreshing when someone takes a genuine interest in you and they tend to like you more. But yeah, it's like a lot of practical things like that, like smile, speak with someone's name, right? Like people, I think it was like a quote he said, people love hearing their name more than they love hearing anything else in the world, right? So if you're like, hey, you're trying to network with someone and you walk up to them, you shake their hand, keep great eye contact, firm handshake, and you're like, hey, blank, hey, so-and-so, like, hey, Jake, hey, Chris, would you mind if you know what I'm saying? It's a lot better than just saying, would you mind if I did this? If you say, hey, Jake, would you mind if I did this? Hey, Jake, is it cool if I have a bit of your time? Instead of just saying, hey, is it cool if I pull you for a couple of minutes? Hey, is it cool if I have some of your time? It's, hey, Jake. Hey, I don't know why I keep saying Jake, but you know what I'm saying? That's the first name I thought of. But yeah, people love hearing their name more than they love hearing anything else in the world. So that's just a couple of tidbits, you know, along with the other things that I learned in that book. But yeah, it's a book about people skills and it really teaches you a lot. So I feel like anybody can benefit from reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right, next on the list of books I read after that, I read The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida immediately after, right? Now, this book, it's kind of like a give or take, right? I also kind of look at this as a foundational text for me personally because I view myself as a masculine man. You know what I'm saying? And if you are a masculine man, it gives you that dance of masculinity, and it explains the difference between masculinity and femininity, which is females. And it kind of gives you the spiritual outlook on it, right? It teaches you what it is to be a man. It teaches you what it is to be a woman. It teaches you the masculine desires, what we desire as men. It teaches you what women desire as women, just naturally at their natural form in their natural state, right? So that book, yeah, extremely influential. One of my favorite reads to this day. I have reread it twice, I believe. But yeah, I definitely think that a lot of people could benefit from that book. After that, right, followed that up, I read Eat That Frog, right? And who is Eat That Frog by? Let me look that up. I have the copy over there too, like I said, but by Brian Tracy, okay. And he has two books like this, right? He has Eat That Frog and he has Kiss That Frog, which is also on the list, right? Which we'll get to. But Eat That Frog is basically like, it's a book about procrastination. You know what I mean? It's one of the really popular books on, you know what I'm saying? Just do it, right? That is the main motto of that book. Just do it. Do the ugly, big thing first. Do the ugly, big, hard, difficult task first, early, as soon as possible. Because doing the easy thing, it's like you're just putting off the inevitable, right? You still have to get the hard task done. So yeah, that book has a lot of ideas surrounding that. It also was big on the 80-20 rule. I think the 80-20 rule, I don't know if it was introduced in that book, but it talks a lot about it in that book. So yeah, Eat That Frog, Kiss That Frog by Brian Tracy. Definitely some very, very important reads for myself as well. Now, the next book, you guys, which actually I read Eat That Frog, and then I read this next one I'm about to say, and then I read Kiss That Frog after that, right? But Kiss That Frog obviously is along the same lines, kind of. But so we're not going to speak too much on that. But the next book that I read after Eat That Frog, this is one of my personal favorites. I'm not going to lie. Like, of all of the books on this list, if you had to just pick one right, that I would suggest to every single human on planet Earth, every single person in the world should and needs to read this book, it is this one. It is Atomic Habits by James Clear, right? Now, James Clear, just based off of this one book, absolutely one of my favorite authors of all time, right? Because the value that he gives in this book is so practical, so helpful that anyone can apply it, right? And it's basically about building good habits and how to get rid of poor habits, right? How to get rid of all of the poor habits, all of the vices, all of the bad things that are, a detriment to your life, that are ruining your life to this day. You know what I'm saying? He gives practical ways on how to get rid of those habits. And he also gives very practical ways on how to build new habits, you know what I'm saying, in your life that support you and the person that you want to be, right? So yeah, Atomic Habits, extremely important. He also talks about the importance of routine, right? This is like the discipline Bible. I'm not gonna lie. Like if there was, I'm sorry, I gotta text y'all. But if there was any book that, like, you know what I'm saying, gives you detail and a step-by-step guide on building good habits, erasing bad ones, staying disciplined, being consistent, like this book is just a tell-all on just discipline. You know what I mean? So I feel like every single person on planet Earth needs to read this book, even if you're not, you know what I mean, big on reading. If you're not a self-help book type of guy, like I still think you should at least have one self-help book. And if you pick one, it has to be this one, right? Atomic Habits, James Clear, 10 out of 10, 11, 12 out of 10, honestly. Probably my favorite and most impactful book of all time. So definitely in my top 5 as well, personally. After that, I have Meditations. This video is getting real long too, so we're going to speed through these last few. So we can wrap this up. But yeah, after that, I have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This book is more like a philosophy type of book. You know what I'm saying? I've mentioned it a couple of times in the past. It's about a Roman emperor. You know what I'm saying? Marcus Aurelius, he was a Roman emperor, and it's basically his personal journal from back when he was running Rome, right? Back when he was, you know what I'm saying? Just, yeah, running Rome. And it's like all of the things that he was going through day to day, seeing day to day, and all of his daily insights. It's like a look into his mind as he was running Rome, right? And it's more so like a philosophy type of book. It has a lot of big, old English type words in it. But if you're, you know what I'm saying, if you don't mind that type of thing, then it's definitely a good read. But it's basically like a mindset type of thing. Like, nothing is as bad as it seems. You're not going to die. You know what I'm saying? You can choose the attitude that you want to have toward any bad thing that happens to you in your life. Bad things aren't specific to you. They happen to every single person in the world. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just don't take it personal. It's more of a mindset type of thing. Like when you wake up every single day, armor yourself to deal with the problems of the world. Know that you're going to have to deal with, the needy, the restless, the annoying. When it comes to people, you're going to have to deal with the problems of the world, everything. So, yeah, it's a philosophy book and definitely an important read. This next book is also very similar to that. It's kind of like a mindset book. The 4 Agreements. I read this one time. It kind of seemed like along the same lines as like Meditations in a way to me. Now, I don't know if I just interpreted it wrong, but it was more so like just armoring your mindset against the world, right? Like nothing's as bad as you think it is, and you can handle really anything that, you know what I'm saying, comes at you as long as you have the correct mindset. So yeah, that's kind of what I took away from the 4 Agreements. I kind of need to read it again, honestly, but nothing really stood out to me. It was like another reiteration of the things I learned in Meditations, honestly. But yeah, after that, we have Man's Search for Meaning, which is by Viktor Frankl. You know what I'm saying? He was basically in a Nazi concentration camp during World War II when the Germans were persecuting and doing all of these evil things with the Jews and everything. And it basically lets you know, like, you can get through anything. You can survive anything. There's never anything in life that you can't handle. You know what I mean? So yeah, that book basically it tells you that. So yeah, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell is just a book about success stories. It's like all of the all of the outliers in human history, and you know what I'm saying, like how they got to where they got to, like what's it called? How Microsoft was created, how professional hockey players got to be professional hockey players, and all of the things that go into, you know what I'm saying, their success stories and what made them successful along their lives, right? And the things that they all have in common in their stories, right? So boom, yeah. After that, the 4-Hour Work Week. I'm still kind of in the middle of this book. Seems pretty, eh, like if you know these kind of ideas already, it doesn't seem that revolutionary to me. So I've kind of been taking my time finishing reading this one, but I'm like halfway through the 4-Hour Work Week. But yeah, it's basically about how to work less hours, how to delegate your time, right? And how to, you know, it's like hiring employees to do the things that you don't want to do in your business and freeing up your time so that you can work on something else, or freeing up your time so that you can live the kickback life, you know. But yeah, that's really the 4-Hour Work Week in a nutshell. And 48 Laws of Power, this is like very foundational text. It's kind of like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know all of the pushback on 48 Laws of Power is like, oh yeah, this book is evil, this book is that. But in my humble opinion, it's more so like how to understand people. Like it teaches you about human nature. And if you use the book for evil, then that is a telling sign of your character. A lot of people use the book to realize when other people are using any of these laws on them, which is how I kind of viewed it. It kind of lets you know how to armor yourself against any of these tactics being used against you. And it teaches you about people, teaches you about human nature. It's kind of like a darker version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. But yeah, you guys, I don't know how many that was specifically. This video is almost 30 minutes long, but I'm still on my reading journey every single day. You know what I mean? I have so many books that I've just bought that I'm waiting to read, like Psycho-Cybernetics. Is probably the next book I want to get into personally. I bought the copy, so that's probably what I'm going to dive into next. But yeah, comment down below. Let me know some of you guys' favorite books. But yeah, these are all of the books that changed my life personally. And I feel like if you read them, they'll probably have a very similar effect on you. So yeah, love y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm going to see you in the next one.